Dravida Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Is Leela coming tonight?
You know, I'm not sure. I got home from work and she wasn't home, so I know she got a truck running today after not running for a few days, and she probably had stuff to do, so I'm not sure.
I just want to let her know that whenever we get the supplies, I'm ready to pay.
Wow.
I'm ready to go.
Nice.
So,
do you think the rest of her crew is ready? Not her crew, but the crew.
I don't know, but it seems like they're fired up from what I've heard. I don't know if they
Maybe that's one of the things she did today. She could, hopefully she only got the pink. I got home from work and she wasn't there. I was telling about Chang, her truck hasn't been running for a few days.
The truck, your truck?
Yeah, it's her truck actually. But she just got running this morning and she's probably catching up, taking care of stuff.
Oh.
Either there, she ran off.
Never know. Okay, this is somehow. This is brand new. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Brajanandana Yashodanandana ISKCON UPT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Acharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavadgita ki Jai. Samadeva Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glory to the Son of the devotees. All glory to the Son of the devotees. All glory to the Son of the devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Radha. Hare Krishna, welcome. We have a book for you. Can you just move over one side?
Yes.
You can turn that. And if you could move over here, because this is the ladies' side, and there may be another lady coming out. Thank you. You're already streaming by Gita, I see.
I just started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I forgot to make my little recording. I think we're on 17.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 On this 22nd day of May 2017 in SanDiego, we do Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 5 entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. And we are on page 245, text number 17. Tad buddhayastharatmanas Tad nishtas tad parayana Kacham chaparanavrittim Jnananiya bhuta kalmasha. Prabhu, do you need a chair or something? You okay?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tad buddhayastharatmanas Tad nishtas tad parayana Kacham apunaravrittim Jnananiya bhuta kalmasha. Tad buddhayastharatmanas Tad nishtas tad parayana Kacham apunaravrittim Jnananiya bhuta kalmasha.
Tad buddhayastharatmanas
Tad buddhayastharatmanas
Tad nishtas tad parayana
Tad nishtas tad parayana
Gacchant apunaravrittim
Kacham apunaravrittim
Jnananiya bhuta kalmasha.
Jnananiya bhuta kalmasha. Go ahead, Krishna Priya.
Tad buddhayastharatmanas Tad nishtas tad parayana
Tad parayana
Gacchanti apunaravrittim
Kacham apunaravrittim
Jnana nidhuta kalmashaha.
Jnananiya bhuta kalmasha.
Tad buddhayastharatmanas
Tad buddhayastharatmanas
Tad nishtas tad parayana
Tad nishtas tad parayana
Gacchati apunaravrittim
Kacham apunaravrittim
Jnananiya bhuta kalmasha.
Jnananiya bhuta kalmasha. Anyone else want to chant? You want to chant?
Tad buddhayastharatmanas
Tad buddhayastharatmanas
Tad nishtas tad parayana
Tad nishtas tad parayana
Gacchanti apunaravrittim
Kacham apunaravrittim
Jnananiya bhuta kalmasha.
Jnananiya bhuta kalmasha. Tad buddhaya, those whose intelligence is always in the Supreme. Tad atmanaha, those whose minds are always in the Supreme. Tad nishtaha, those whose faith is only meant for the Supreme. Tad parayanaha, who have completely taken shelter of Him. Gacchanti, go, apunaha avritim, to liberation. Jnana, by knowledge, nirdhuta, cleanse, kalmasha, misgivings. Translation. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. Purport. The Supreme Transcendental Truth is Lord Krishna. The whole Bhagavad Gita centers around the declaration that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the version of all Vedic literature. Time. Can we get you a book? There, take this one. Give some water there. Where was I? That is the, did I read that as the version of all Vedic literature? I think I did. Right? Okay. Paratattva means the supreme reality. It was understood by the knowers of the Supreme as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the last word in the Absolute. There is nothing more than that. The Lord says, Matta Paraparam Nanya Kinchadasti Dhananjaya. The personal Brahman is also supported by Krishna. Brahmanohi Pratishthaham. Therefore, in all ways, Krishna is the supreme reality. One whose mind, intelligence, faith, and refuge are always in Krishna, or in other words, one who is fully in Krishna consciousness, is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings, and is in perfect knowledge in everything concerning transcendence. A Krishna conscious person can thoroughly understand that there is duality, or simultaneous identity and individuality, in Krishna. And equipped with such transcendental knowledge, one can make steady progress on the path of liberation. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master, the Father, opened my eyes to the Torah light of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance to him and all members of Shri Parampara. So you're set.
Yes.
Okay.
Which chapter?
We're in chapter 5, text 17.
Thank you.
And is there a little stand? We have more books. Put them up. Just put them in. So, this verse begins with the word tad. And there's tad, that refers back to the previous verse. When Krishna says, when, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, and his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. And the last words in that verse are tat param. Now param is the transcendence, or the truth, or the absolute truth that Krishna refers to in this text 17. In other words, real knowledge, this karma yoga is meant to lead to realized knowledge. It is a process of purification. And here Krishna is saying the benefits of attaining this kind of knowledge through the activity of Krishna consciousness, selfless action, selfless action, without desiring the fruits of the labor. This is the key element. In many cases, this chapter parallels what we learned in chapter 3. Chapter 3 was just called Karma Yoga. This chapter is called Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So the whole reason why the yoga ladder begins with Karma Yoga is because the impetus there is to become free from the bondage of acts. This is the source of all the suffering that we have in this world. The very fact that we're within a material body which is subject to old age and disease and death. And as we know from chapter 2, rebirth of the soul to go through the whole cycle again. This is something that throughout the Vedic culture and the East in general, even in, not in India, but the whole idea of Buddhism is to escape from this round of samsara, of birth and death. But escape, liberation, these are really negative terms. This means freedom from something. Freedom from disease, old age, suffering, pain, fine. Well, what is it for? What is what is our positive activity? This is a central principle of the Vedic understanding, that the soul, the living entity, was pure spirit. We're part and parcel of the Supreme Soul. But that Supreme Soul is a person. And personhood means a form, a name, activity, senses, relationships. A whole world is built around it. It's not simply a question of this world of duality and suffering and the nirvana of the white light of the Brahman. That is not the ideal in Krishna consciousness. And that is not really a secure platform of liberation either. Because as spirit souls and persons, we desire activity and relationship. But we have to learn how to do it in a wholesome way that doesn't bind us to this world and keep us coming back and suffer another term. So that's what this chapter is all about. How to act in such a way that you're not incurring any new karma. Karma that's either quote good or quote bad, that will bring you back again. And at the same time is paving your way for passage to the kingdom of God, where there's no even hint of suffering, just eternal bliss, knowledge, and existence. So here he's saying, the first thing is the intelligence. The intelligence is what we have uniquely as human beings. We've all passed through so many other births, many of them lower than human beings. And in those lower births, we can see the dogs, the cats, the insects, the birds, the fish. They don't have the kind of intelligence that we have. Their intelligence is very, very rudimentary. How to survive, where is food, where is safety, where is the opposite sex at most, you know. And this is enough for them to live in that life, but it's short, and finally they die or are eaten or something. But nobody dies. The soul goes on, up, the ladder. It's a gradual unfolding of consciousness. This is what evolution is. The bodies are all there, just like the apartments are here in SanDiego, right? They're already there. They're building new ones, but let's, for sake of argument, you've got the apartments. Your ability to live in a better apartment is dependent on your money that you have. That's like your karma. The apartments are already there. So you evolve, you know, you say, well, I'm coming up in the world, and you're getting a better apartment, getting a better job, but it's the same person. Similarly, the soul is always the same, never changes. This is in the second chapter. Never birth, never die, never change, always this eternal spark of pure consciousness. But now we can't experience ourselves as such, because we're identifying with this gross body, and the soul body too, the mind also. So Krishna consciousness is a systematic, tried and true process of yoga by which we free the soul, the Atman, from the bondage of matter. And here he's giving a verse that's giving us some of the benefits. So when intelligence, mind, which is the Atman here, faith and refuge are all of the Supreme, and the Supreme is the Supreme Absolute Truth is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, not something vague. Then one becomes fully cleansed of misgiving. That's the nirdhuta. And nirdhuta means totally cleansed of kalmasha. Kalmasha, he says misgivings. Kalmasha is also impurities. Impurities. That which is keeping us bound here. Lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, attachments. All of these things are superfluous to the soul. They're like dust on the mind, where we can't see ourselves properly. And that cleansing of the mind, cleansing of the consciousness, that is the process of Krishna consciousness, beginning with the chanting of the holy name. Lord Chaitanya has said, Chaito Dharpana Marjana. Marjana means to cleanse. Dharpana is like a mirror, and he's talking the consciousness or the mind is like a mirror that's been covered with dust for millions of years. But we can't see ourselves. We're mistaking ourselves for this body. So the process of yoga, especially in this age, is centered on this chanting. Because silent meditation with pranayama for many, many years going on, Krishna gives a little hint in the next chapter. You know, you have to go alone, you can't have any distractions, complete celibacy, you know. Who's ready to do that? But here you come to this temple and you chant Hare Krishna. This is yoga. This is really yoga. This mantra is especially meant. And so here we have apuna avritim. Means not again being covered. Never again being covered by illusion. Dhyana nirduta kalmasha. Because all these impurities have been cleansed by this transcendental knowledge. So the whole Bible centers around the declaration that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. This whole movement centers on that declaration. This is the key understanding. You know, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have another book there. Are we out of books, Marcy?
No, I have another book right now.
You share the next book, and we have so many other. Whoever set this up, we have to be ambitious. There's a whole panoply of seats. You never know. We'll have a capacity grapple. So the word nidhuta is very important. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, 3rd chapter, text 28, I believe it is, there's a statement that really is foundational for this whole process of yoga. And that statement is, Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam. Ete chansakala Krishna, ete chansakala pumsa, Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam. In that chapter, there is a list of all different incarnations. They're called Shakti Vesha avatars or Leela avatars. There's different kinds. So, for instance, we know Nrsingadev, half man, half lion, or even Balaram is there, and the fish incarnation. There's different incarnations. They're all Krishna, but they come in a certain form to perform a certain task, to perform a certain Leela. They're called Leela avatars. And all of them are described in this verse as they're all plenary portions of Krishna, means they have his full power, but they don't show it. They don't show all the powers. Or they're partial expansions of Krishna. But then it comes, then there's this key phrase, which Jiva Goswami, one of our great acharyas, says, this is what is called a Patibhas Sutra, which is a foundational statement of the Shastra, upon which you then found a whole philosophy. And you know what it is? Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. I remember way back in the old days when we used to actually send letters, physical letters, and we had ISKCON stationery, and there was a stationery printed up, and part of it, ISKCON, and you have the address, snail mail address, and whatever, and then we had this phrase, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. This is like something you shouldn't forget. And what the whole thing means is that all these other incarnations, and there's many, many others that we don't even have names for. There's thousands and millions. But these are the most famous ones. All of them are either plenary expansions or partial expansions of Krishna. But Krishna himself is Bhagavan himself, Bhagavan Swayam. Now what is this Bhagavan? This definition has been given by Parashara Muni, who's the father of Vyasadeva. And he has this nice verse describing 6 opulences, we call it. It says, Aishraryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashakshaya jnana vairavyaschaiva shannam bhaga itinyanam. Shanna means 6. So he made a list here. He first starts with Aishraryasya. Now Aishraryasya comes from the word Ishvara, which means controller. But Aishwarya generally means wealth. Aishwarya, money or something of great value. So Samagrasya means complete. So that person who has infinite wealth, who owns all the wealth, the source of all the wealth, and is the ultimate controller, that's the one opulence. Ultimate knowledge. Even in the West, we have this basic definition of God, isn't it? Omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent. Omniscient means he knows everything. Right? He knows everything, past, present, and future. So Krishna has that. Who can have more knowledge than that? Jnana, viryasya yashashakshaya. So viryasya is power, is strength. There's all kinds of strength. We have, physical strength, but there's also sensual strength. There's also influential strength. If someone is very charismatic, he can influence others, and that's a kind of strength. So Krishna has all the different kinds of strength to an infinite degree. This temple is called the Govardhan. It memorializes the pastime of Krishna lifting that Govardhan hill. So who can lift the hill like that? Except someone who has unlimited strength. On his pinky, not just he felt like that. He created the whole universe, there's unlimited ways he shows his strength. Fame. Not everyone may know the name Krishna, though it's becoming very well known because of Prabhupada's efforts and Sadhu Krishna consciousness. But doesn't everyone know the term God? Usually in every culture there's some understanding of some supreme person. So who could be more famous than God through the ages? Nobody. And Shriya. Now this isn't commonly understood. Beauty. Beauty, attraction. Whatever attraction we see in others, physical attraction, they speak well, whatever, that's simply a little reflection of Krishna's ultimate attraction. This is what it means, this supreme absolute truth. The source of everything. There's nothing in existence except the energies of God and God Himself. We are part of that energy also. So the qualities that we find attractive in others, those are qualities of Krishna that we see through the filter of the material energy. So it's very, very dim, but still is something that can be very impressive. And finally, jnana and vairagya. Knowledge and vairagya means detachment. Completely full in himself, so he doesn't need anything else. We don't have vairagya. We have so many attachments because we lack so many things. But there cannot be any lack in the Supreme, so he has it completely detached. Even though he does so many of these activities, he creates all the universe, but he doesn't get affected by it. If we create something wonderful, we identify with the creation, we want to be known as the creator, right? I did that, make sure my name is on it, and they get credit, or so whatever, right? So we are affected by what we create. But Krishna is full in himself, so he's not affected, he's completely detached by Ragya. These 6 opulences of beauty, strength, knowledge, fame, wealth, and renunciation. So that's the definition of Bhagavan. Now these other incarnations of Krishna, they have the opulence, but they don't show it, just like the fish incarnation. Well, among fish, it was the most beautiful fish, but it wasn't like Krishna with the threefold ending form. Didn't have that infinite beauty that everyone would be attracted to. He had other strengths. So this is there's so many ways in which you can remember Krishna. It's not just trying to zone out on not thinking of anything, and in this way to detach the mind from the material world and get liberation. That doesn't work. Because it's unnatural. As living souls, we are also eternal spiritual persons, although we don't know what that form is right now, because it's covered by this material form. Our eternal spiritual form may have nothing to do with our present form. Hopefully it doesn't. I don't want to be eternal. Does everyone want to be eternally 70? Or eternally have a body that's subject to disease and all these failings? No. So we have our eternal form, and the original has his eternal form and activities. Name, form, qualities, and activities. That defines a person. So one whose intelligence is fixed in that supreme concept, and who is determined, and whose refuge, gacchant apunanavrittim. So in this purport, Prabhupada quotes another verse from the Bhagavad Gita, in the 7th chapter. Matta paratanam nanya kinchadasti dhananjaya. This is a famous statement Prabhupada would quote all the time. There is no truth superior to me. Matta paratanam nanya. This word paratanam or param is being taught with ID. Therefore, in all ways, Krishna is the supreme reality. So this is a call to be Krishna conscious, because it's just being Krishna conscious is cleansing. It cleanses away from the impurities. And we should know that deep down inside, in our original state, we are Satchidananda. We're full of bliss, we're eternal, we're full of knowledge. And that's what we want to try to regain, to get there. Any questions on this verse? Okay, let's go. Next one is even more famous. This 19 and 18 is famous. What the result is, how you see if you're in that consciousness. Vidyavaniya sampanne Brahmane kabihastini Shuni chaiva svapakecha Pandita samadarshinaha. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater or outcast. A Krishna-conscious person does not make any distinction between species or castes. The Brahman and the outcast may be different from the social point of view, or a dog, a cow, and an elephant may be different from the point of view of species. But these differences of body are meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme, or the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as Paramatma. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme, for the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. As far as the bodies are concerned in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone, because he treats every living being as a friend, yet maintains himself as Paramatma, regardless of the circumstances of the living entities. The Lord as Paramatma, which means super soul, is present both in the outcast and in the Brahman, although the body of a Brahman and that of an outcast are not the same. The bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and the super soul within the body are of the same spiritual nature, quality. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the super soul, however, does not make them equal in quantity, for the individual soul is present only in that particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. A Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and super soul are that they are both conscious, eternal, and blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the super soul is conscious of all bodies. The super soul is present in all bodies without distinction. So it shouldn't be mistaken that although the humble sage sees the cow and the Brahman, the elephant, the dog, dog-eater as equal, he doesn't deal with them the same. Because you can't obviously deal with a Brahman and an elephant in the same way. But you can see that on the most essential level they're equal. This is the vision that comes when you're not in the modes of nature. You're not trying to exploit these different species or for your own benefit. But you're seeing with this vision that's been explained in the previous verses of this chapter, of seeing the soul within all, seeing the super soul, and understanding. It comes to this. This is the value of knowledge. You see, we see not so much with the eyes, but or we see with the eyes, but an essential aspect is the consciousness we have of seeing. I like to give this example. When I was a kid, 18, 19, I lived in the New York area, and I would go into the city, the famous museums, and I would see in the Modern Museum of Art and the other museums these famous paintings. And, you know, sometimes I say, well, I like that, I don't like that, that's really nice, you know, I see some Rembrandt or something. I remember Guernica, I would always see that, you know, that painting of Picasso of the Spanish Revolutionary War, Civil War. And it was, you know, very moving painting. But I didn't really know what was going on in that art. There's all kinds of, you know, subtle things, composition, color, cultural backgrounds that are coming out in the art. I had no idea of that. I was just a kid wandering through the museum. But I got curious, and so I subscribed to this little course. And they would send me these books, and they were full color and everything, and I started to learn something about art. And I even took a course of that when I went to college. So then, with that knowledge, when I'd see a Rembrandt or something, I'd say, oh, that indicates this period, and the color that's coming, you know, I had more knowledge. The same thing with music. You know, to hear, I mean, Indian music is one thing, but even classical music, not pop music, but classical music, there's so much going on in there. You know, that a trained person who goes to Juilliard or something would hear that an ordinary person doesn't. And we experience ourselves as you grow up. The vision and the understanding, the vision of a child is not the same as an adult. You know, they're seeing things in terms of their own consciousness. You know, where is there any fun here? Or they drag me to this temple and make me sit to this board lecture I can't understand it. You know, the 8-year-old kid, it's classic, you know, they get restless, you gotta bring something. So, but for someone who's understanding some of it, it can be fascinating, right? So, the consciousness we develop, the knowledge that we develop, changes the way we see ourselves and see the world. If we read the Bhagavad Gita, we understand I'm a spirit soul, we understand how the modes of nature are working. Then when we walk through the street or we go and we see anyone, we see, oh, this person, yeah, I can see they're really in the modes of passion. You know, this person, unfortunately, is in the mode of ignorance. But I don't want to be affected that. I want to stay in the mode of goodness where I can see things clearly and, you know, in the Krishna. So it changes everything, and that's what's being spoken of here. Someone who is a pundit, defined here, those who are wise, sees these different categories, different species, different categories of human being, they see the externals and they have to deal with them in a certain way, but they see the essential soul and the super soul in everybody. And this changes the way you deal with everything. Just like we have our temple here, and I like to point out, especially in the summertime, the insects are all in the garden over here, and some of them wander into the temple. Yeah. Sometimes they're flyers, sometimes they're crawlers. Little bugs, whatever it is. Daddy long legs. Daddy long, I always think, oh my goodness, so fragile. Anything that touches it. Poor guys. So they're walking across this plain. To them it's like Gobi Desert or something. You can imagine. And here the devotees are walking around Tulsi, chanting Hare Krishna. And so someone goes, Prabhu, wait, watch out. And so somebody runs, like chanting, will run and get a little tissue or something, take that little pillow, throw it outside. Because it's a living entity. Why should it just be crushed like that? Of course, it's auspicious to be crushed under the foot of the devotee, but we don't try to do it on purpose. So, but ordinary people, who cares? I mean, come on, we can kill, But you see differently. Every living being, even the plants, they're all souls in there, part of God, And you see that they're our brothers and sisters. We have a relationship with them. Yeah, when you're in the bodily concept of life, you make all the distinction on the basis of the body. Just see, we have political, socio-political sphere, the basis of race, the basis of where you're born, what to speak now, the big divide, what do they call it now, the inequality, you have the 1%, and then there's everybody else in the gig economy. Gig economy means the odd jobs that you're trying to get to survive, So you can imagine, there's the upper crust, just like in the feudal state, there's the lords and ladies, and then there's everybody else, the serfs. So that's all of the ignorance. That's the grossest type of ignorance. So as devotees, now the thing is, it brings peace to the heart when you're not trying to exploit others, but you're rather trying to give them Krishna consciousness. That changes the whole equation. You see everybody as your friend. You have no enmity. Now in their ignorance, they may see you as an enemy or something. When you tolerate that. But it changes everything as you see yourself differently. I know it changed my life. Just to reach after 2 of the Bhagavad Gita changes everything. Jatasya duva mrityu juvam janma matasya. That one line, everything that's born dies. Well, that I understand. But everything that's died gets reborn. That changes, Whoa. That changes your whole world. So that's what we're meant to see, and this is an example that Krishna's giving a verse describing how your vision will change. And further on, when you're steeped in Krishna consciousness, and you see Krishna's hand in everything, then this whole world, Srila Prabhupada told us, becomes like the spiritual world. Even though there's so many things, you see Krishna's pastime being enacted everywhere. You never feel separate. Even though now, in our forgetfulness, we feel separate. But to see Krishna's hand, see the super soul everywhere, you never feel alone. Prabhupada told us that. He spent so much time, he came to America, he had no friends here, he had no associates, it was so far from Vrindavan, And you had these pictures of him wandering alone in the streets of New York, with a jacket on, and it's cold. But he said, I never felt alone. He always had a spiritual master with him. He always had Krishna with him. Can you imagine how wonderful it is to have your supreme friend with you at all times? Your Surit. The Surit, Krishna says, Suritam Sarvabhutanam, chapter 5. At the end of this chapter, a few verses later, we'll get to it maybe this week. And Krishna says, here's the peace formula. Krishna speaks about himself once in this chapter at the very end. He says, Bhoktaram yagtapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram sudidam sarvabhutanam gyatvama shanti vrichyati. Here's how you can get supreme peace. Really valuable, have peace. No more anxiety, no more panic attacks. Just to be peaceful. Bhoktaram yagtapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. One who recognizes myself, Krishna says, as the enjoyer of all sacrifices, as the Lord of all the worlds, and as the friend in the heart of everyone, who can attain perfect peace. So that word Surit is a special word for friend. There's different words, just like in English. He's a friend, or he's a bosom buddy, or he's an acquaintance, or whatever. So in Sanskrit, the word surit means someone who always has your welfare at heart. Where can you find a friend like that? On this planet. But Krishna is in our heart, and he always has our greatest welfare at heart. So what is he? He's not just thinking about it, he's acting. This whole movement is part of Krishna's effort to try to enlighten us. Srila Prabhupada was an agent of Krishna. Everything he did and spoke and wrote and wherever he traveled was all as a mission on Krishna's behalf. And what's the mission? What we're doing here. Bhagavad Gita, learn it. What is it? Learn it.
Live it.
Learn it, live it, and give it. Go on. Learn it, live it, and give it. That's what this whole movement is. So Srila Prabhupada lived that credo and on Krishna's behalf. So he saw, he was always with Krishna at every moment. That's the platform of peace and building. Okay, any discussion on this verse? This is an important verse. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, one more. We have a few minutes. Ihavatar chitak sargo yesham samye sthitam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma tasma brahma nite sthita. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Purport. Equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is the sign of self-realization. Those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. As long as one identifies with this body, he is considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity, to a realization of self, he is liberated from conditional life. In other words, he is no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Such persons are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. So Jita Sarga. Sarga means creation, in this case birth and death, to conquer over birth and death. Nirdosham, flawless. Now this word Brahman, which will become the theme in the latter part of this chapter, it's already understood. What is Brahman? Okay, the Supreme Brahman. We learn that in the 10th chapter. Arjun, Param Brahma, Param Brahma, Pavitram Paramam, Brahma. Brahma means you. Oh, Krishna, you are the Supreme Brahman. We're also Brahman, but we're not the Supreme Brahman. We're individual Brahman. Brahman, in one sense, just means spirit, pure spirit. But the ultimate Brahman, Param Brahman, is not just pure spirit, but a spiritual person, just like we are, the Supreme Person. So we'll learn that as time goes on. Okay, it's almost 8 o'clock. We can have our Krishna book reading. All are agreed. Krishna book is the summary study, Prabhupada's running translation with interwoven commentary of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. 10th canto being that part which describes Krishna's pastimes on the earth. And we have been reading it, and we've been reading chapter 47, which is the chapter describing how Krishna sent Uddhava to Vrindavan to give the gopis a message and to learn from the gopis the highest level of devotion. So we're in the middle of that. He's just delivering that message, and Prabhupada is giving the various commentaries. As the father impregnates the mother by injecting the living entity within the womb, so Krishna injects all the living entities into the womb of the material nature. They come out in different bodies according to their different fruitive activities. But in all circumstances, the living entity is aloof from this material conditioned life. So there's this little phrase in the Upanishads, Asango Hayam Purusha. The Purusha, the living entity in Jiva, who's trying to enjoy, known as the Purusha, really never associates with the material energy. We're constitutionally a different energy, and so we never mix. It's like oil and water really never mixes. You can look like it mixes, but it will separate again. So we never mix, but because when we forget Krishna, when we forget the Supreme, we identify ourselves with this material energy. So it seems as if we're mixing. Just like we learn in Bhagavad Gita, the Jayate Mriyate Bhagavatacha. There's no death and there's no birth of the living entity. Okay, so, but it certainly seems like we're dying. Seems like we're taking birth, right? If we're not realized, we're just ordinary consciousness. So the whole thing is a grand illusion. The idea that we're growing old, I'm enjoying this, I'm suffering this. You're just watching, you're experiencing. Can we shut it off completely? Just put it on. It's okay, it's off. So it's like it's a very, very expertly constructed virtual reality. We're sitting in this body, in the heart, spirit, soul, and this incredible machine called the material body with the nerves and the brain and all the biochemistry that's going on. And the whole purpose is to give us this illusion that we are this body. And whatever happens to the body and the mind and all these thoughts that are going on, we are completely identified with it. But it's not us any more than you are that personal reality that you're in, the virtual reality, or the video game, where they identify with don't they call it an avatar? Right? When you're the shooter game, right? I am that powerful person shooting some skinny little kid in Seoul somewhere, South Korea. Right? 16 hours. He forgets that he's a skinny kid. He's a hero. Right? It's exactly like that. So we're doing it for like a long time, 60, 70 years. And then, shock of all shocks, the video game shuts down, the body dies. And off we go, and we don't know where, and then we get into another body. Unfortunately, maybe a subhuman body. That's, and then we identify with that one. And this has been going on for millions of years. And finally, the whole universe is wound up, and there's no more bodies, the material of everything. And we get merged into the body of Mahavishnu, and we're in suspended animation. We're asleep, no dreams, no nothing for millions of years. But we don't die. And then when finally the time comes for creation, out we come again, and gradually we all take our regular bodies, start it all over again. No fun. It's not where we belong. All this birth and death and threefold miseries and all these things. We should be, really be determined to learn how to escape from this. So let me continue. They come out of different bodies, but in all circumstances, living entities aloof from this material life. If we simply study our own bodies, we can understand how a living entity is always aloof from this bodily engagement. Every action of the body takes place by the interactions of the three modes of nature. We can see at every moment many changes taking place in our bodies, but the spirit soul is aloof from all changes. One can neither create nor annihilate nor interfere with the actions of material nature. The living entity is therefore entrapped by the material body and conditioned in three stages, while awake, asleep, and unconscious. Asleep means with dreams. The mind acts through all three conditions of life. The living entity in his sleeping or dreaming condition sees something as real, and when awake he sees the same thing as unreal. It is concluded, therefore, that under certain circumstances he accepts something as real, and under other circumstances he accepts the very same thing as unreal. Just think of your dreams. Most of the time, you wake up and you remember a little bit, but then your daily life takes hold and you forget all about it. Right? So many dreams we had, but when you're in the middle of that dream, this seems like the dream. You forget all about it. This so-called, it's probably called the daydream and the night dream. They're both dreams. Neither of them is more real than the other. It's quite a shock. But you see, what this is saying is that all of our things are so important. That, oh my God, world peace, that's important. It is important, in one sense. But in the ultimate calculation of things, it doesn't mean anything. It's just we place the meaning on it. You take. I remember, back in the late '60s. Okay, this kind of knowledge I had absolutely no inkling. So I was totally absorbed day and night. Of course, I was doing my study, but what I really thought was important was the Vietnam War, ending that war for years on end. I grew up with it, conscious of that. It was a horrible thing was going on, and that was what I was absorbed in. 68 was like a year when it all came a cropper, and instead of ending the war, Nixon got elected. And that was like the year that I became totally depressed. I had, what to do. So I became like a nihilist. Nothing matters. It went on and on and on. And so gradually, of course, I joined Hare Krishna in '73, and everything, my view changed. But now I look back on that. What's the importance of it? Is it really, worthwhile going back on those old newspapers or files or anything? What is the news? In 1968, on June 3rd, what happened? So many things happened. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like a dream. It's no more important than a dream. No more significant for us now than the dreams that were going on at the time. So you have to have that faith, but you can only do it when you start to understand the reality. When you start to hear about what's really going on in the spiritual world and what God is doing. That's where the reality is. Krishna explains it when we get to it eventually in the Gita in the 15th chapter. Yeah.
So if we were striving for world peace, that would be kind of like the example of blowing air on like a hot foil. It doesn't really solve the problems of life.
If you're trying through material means, there can never be any peace, because you have to have the peace formula. You have to recognize Krishna as the supreme, So this is really the peace movement. Prabhupada, he came in the middle of the Vietnam War, he's 65, 66. All of his students were into it, And it was quite a thing when he read the Bhagavad Gita, and it's on a war field, and the end of it is that Arjuna fights. Everyone was trying to say, no, you shouldn't fight. And he said, no, in this particular instance, the right thing was to fight. It was a battle. But the point is, real peace can only come when the consciousness of people changes. It's not going to come from some external treaty or something like that. It comes from the consciousness. Real peace is spreading the Hare Krishna chanting. That's where the peace is coming from. The peace means that I don't want to exploit you. I want you to chant Hare Krishna. That's all I want from you. Nityananda would go around in Navadvip, and it describes in the Nityananda Ashtaka. This beautiful Ashtaka. This is Vrindavan Thakur's appearance day, isn't it? Yeah. He wrote this biography of Lord Chaitanya called Chaitanya Bhagavad, a very important book. So he was a disciple of Nityananda, and he wrote this beautiful Nityananda Ashtaka. I have a poem, but unfortunately I don't have a memory, but I'll give you this verse. So it says, it goes to Lord Chaitanya, it says, Ai bratra nirnam katikatasanam kinda bhavata tata prayashchittam vachayadana yasadahime vajanti tvam nittam saha bhagavata mantriyadiyo Vajay nityanandam vajanata dukam dandadavati. So the refrain goes, "O friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree." So he went to Lord Chaitanya and said, "Oh brother, the people in the Kali Yuga are overwhelmed by the sufferings of this age. It's more than I can bear. Please create some process by which they can easily come to you. They can easily come." And that process was Harinam Sankirtan. So the next verse, Nityananda is going around, which he did in Bengal. Yatishtam re prato kuru hari hari dvan manasham tato vaksansara buditananadayo vayilagate. Idam bahu spota atati vatayam yaktati vaham vaje nityanam. So he went to every home in Bengal, and he said, "Oh brothers, please chant Hare Krishna without stopping. Ceaselessly chant the holy name, and in this way give to me the alms," because he was a sannyasi at the time. And so he's give to me the alms of your liberation from birth and death. That's all the alms I ask. I'm not asking you some grain or money or anything. I just want you to be liberated. and in this way he went to every home in Bengal, and he's preaching that way. Eventually met Jagat Madai, that whole story. So this is what the Prabhupada came, not as a beggar, but as a giver. He came to give. It's knowledge, it's invaluable knowledge, how to get free from birth and death, how to attain ultimate happiness. So that's kind of get the idea. Okay, now we have to kind of wind it up. But I'll read the rest of this paragraph. It's concluded therefore that under certain circumstances the living entity accepts something as real, and under other circumstances he accepts the very same thing as unreal. These matters are the subject of study for the empiric philosopher or Sankhya yogi. To come to the right conclusion, Sankhya yogis undergo severe austerities and penances, practicing control of the senses and renunciation. But devotees, they don't have to worry about that. They just chant Hare Krishna, read Bhagavad Gita, become Mahayana. You get the same kind of insight. So we will resume tomorrow, both in the Krishna book and in the Bhagavad Gita. And which one do we stop with? 2019.
20. We're on 20.
We'll begin on 20. Okay. Hare Krishna. All glory to the Lord. Now, for those who have been here, we're going to have a little ceremony. These curtains will open.
Isn't there a verse that you taught us or read in Bhagavad Gita or maybe in Srimad Bhagavatam about the night dream and the waking dream and the sleeping dream, the daydream and the night dream?
Like one awakened from a dream, the wise soul sees the truth. The dwelling in the body is entirely aloof. The foolish soul, however, though he's transcendental too, sees the body as himself, as if the dream were true. There is a thank you for reminding me of it. That is a Sanskrit verse.
I like that. Thank you.
Is this a special day? You guys came? No. All right, so we'll see you tomorrow then.
We made garlands today.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just thought of an idea. Well, we picked up. We had
Oh, really?
very special about
I don't know what those things.
and we actually decided to finish it.
No kill.
Remember, like, the fun that takes some time.
Yeah, just you can get those good things.
Now got the I was trying to make I think they usually do, but for some reason it's not. Are you sure?
No.
I asked him, I'm saying he's worship by That's why.
Can we have a moment of thanks for Varun? Remember Varun? You don't know Varun. You don't know Varun. Do you remember Varun? He gave all these beads. He donated a whole box of new beads that we use all the time in class.
Wow.
Varun. Right on ticket. How did the
Because Bernard also is. I will try to bring
Shri Gauranga ki jai. Shri Radha Girivadi ki jai. Radha Jagannath
Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Radha Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Maya Govardhan ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Ganga Mahi ki jai. Yamuna Mahi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Bhavinda ki jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Radha. You okay? That's right. Yes, this is talking. You don't need to know. All right. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Those who offer their food, Krishna first, and sacrifice before eating, are purified of all sin. For those who cook only for themselves, eat only. So, everybody can take some prashad. And as a Kadasi, there's no grades or anything.
Thank you all for coming.
I usually open them.
SanDiego. Go up.
Would you like so many cashew burgers?
Take a little shot.
What's that?
There's never that. I don't know why. Maybe it was.
Is it okay?
Maybe all the brahmacharis are gone.
You mean
So does it help the old schools?
Half of these, it's like a potato, marcus. And this is cashew burger. Would you like some water or milk?
Should we do that?
I'll do it.
How are you?
What do you want?
Cashew burger.
I'll tell him. Radhika, dinner.
I'm trying to get to something.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just wait for
It's a
minutes.
nice subject. So you're doing it again?
Yeah. So there's quite a few pizzas.
Just to,
It's really nice made by Arjit in Gujarat. Yeah. You speak Punjabi? You speak Punjabi? No. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, really?
Water or milk?
He speak Konkani. Turu. He speak Turu.
Good, that's good.
Yeah, totally.
These two right here. Yeah, we speak the same language.
Goa sounds quite different. Punjabi. What does it sound like you say? How much for 5 samosas?
In Goa. Go to the language. No, the Turu. How do you say Turu? It sounds funny. It sounds
I'm just in the back.
Even Punjabi is funny.
Do these. Not done. Not done yet. I just can't say.
How do you say in Punjabi? How much for 5 samosas?
Yeah.
I can say in Hindi if you want. I can say in
In the evenings, it's his classes. In the evenings. In the mornings, I do Saturday.
I need to learn from
And then sometimes I do Sunday. Well, actually, when Tirtha is in town, he usually does it, like every time. We had another devotee, they would switch on and off, but he's gone. So now Tirtha does it every time. But when he's out of town, not many others do it, so I just do it.
Jump in there.
Yes, and then you can